This week's podcast is brought to you by Greenwood Nursery. Easter is right around the corner, and Greenwood Nursery has all your Easter favorites. Whether you're looking for Easter lilies, kalanchoe, begonia, mums, or rainbow mums, Greenwood Nursery has them all for only $20 each. Pick up your favorite at our Tracy or Marshall location. And remember, Greenwood Nursery for all your spring planting and gardening needs.
Welcome to the 36th edition of the Headlight Hot Seat, and it is March. Rumor has it that it's spring outside. Sometimes it doesn't feel like spring, as a couple weeks ago we saw, and hopefully we're done with the snow. So we're joined by TMB softball coach Karl Campbell. Thank you once again, Karl, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
So let's talk a little bit about spring weather. I touched on this with Heather and James as well in previous podcasts. The pros and cons of having to practice indoors. James did bring up the fact that it's a little bit easier for the kids to focus indoors. There's no wind, there's no noise issues. Do you feel that way, Karl? Or I know you want to get outside, obviously, but you're stuck inside for the majority of March practices along with the other spring coaches.
Well, first of all, I had a chance to listen to both Heather and James's podcasts over the last couple of weeks and enjoyed those immensely, and hearing their thoughts and comments on a lot of this. I kind of view it as we really don't have a choice. So we start I think we started March 9th this year with the girls, and in this neck of the woods, it's seldom nice enough outside where you can be outside on the very first day, or even if you can, which I can remember 1 or 2 years where we did start outside, it seems like we always end up indoors. That's just the nature of the beast.
You've done some parking lot softball. I know Olivia, when she was a senior, I remember taking a picture of her and Mariah, and they had their hoods on and tight and everything. That was
Yeah,
kind of
you're
funny.
all bundled up, and you just want to see if you got someone that can catch a fly ball outside, because that's one of the things that you don't really get a true picture of inside. From the indoor practice perspective, yeah, we work on some fundamentals with the defensive stuff, but the main focus is always with the hitting in the cage with no elements, no weather elements, and with the pitching, trying to get our pitching right. And we've obviously worked really hard on that so far this season. Today marks 2.5 weeks of practice. We did have one weather day where I made it optional. I believe that was a week ago Monday. We had an off day with school, and the weather was clearing out. The roads were getting better, so we were able to get in with an optional practice. We had about half the team there. And then we had one day last Friday where we were on quote-unquote spring break, and we didn't practice that day. I gave the girls a 3-day weekend. With us still being 3 to 4 weeks out, they got a 3-day weekend, but with that said, we're still 2.5 weeks in, and we finally got on one of the fields yesterday. It was a little bit chilly, but we got a decent practice in outdoors yesterday, and we actually went into a game scrimmage mode today outside at the pool fields, which always seem to dry out a little bit faster than the main complex. So we enjoyed the weather today. We got a chance for our pitchers to pitch against live hitting and vice versa, and everything went pretty well.
Before we get into this year's team and all the stuff we want to talk about softball related, I'm curious to know the transition. As everyone listening knows, you're the head varsity wrestling coach at TMB, and you are always in St. Paul, whether it's 1 or 2 individuals or a team. Hopefully we see the team back at state in the near future. That transition from wrestling to softball, you don't really get to take a breath, do you, Karl?
No, I don't. And I get 1 week off from mandatory practices for one sport or the other. But with that said, the week I did have off, I spent a couple of those days at a kids practice, a kids wrestling practice. I spent a couple of those days trying to get ready for our banquet. We also had parent-teacher conferences one of the nights where I had to stay till 7 in teacher mode. And that week flies by, and it's a combination of both getting ready for softball And we did manage to get a meeting in that week with the girls as well. So I'm just thinking back on that week, but that week flies by. And yeah, the transition is fairly quick. We also run an NYWA K6 team tournament in town here where we use both the VMC and the high school. And I was that was the end of the first week of practice, so I was prepping for that as well. And yeah, there's just not a lot of downtime. That's kind of the nature of the beast, and we've got several of us coaches that coach two sports.
Yeah.
Mine happen to be winter and spring, and going from the craziness of wrestling to usually coaching softball inside.
Be honest, does Diane ever miss you?
I don't think so. I think she enjoys. I think she enjoys not having me around a lot of the time, but
Yeah, there you go.
she's very supportive in knowing that this is what I like to do, and she's understood that for a long time, and has never makes it an issue, never complains about it. I was gone every day this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for NYW regionals, just going down supporting our kids wrestling in Wyndham and then in Worthington on Sunday. And quite honestly, I didn't even tell her. She calls me, had something else on her mind. She says, "Where you at?" I says, "Well, I'm on the way to Wyndham." "Oh, that's right. That's this weekend." So, yeah, she's very supportive of all this.
You know, wrestling and softball don't have a lot in common
No.
in a number of ways. A little bit different now with girls wrestling, but that transition is moving from boys in a really physical, demanding sport to girls. And I'm not saying softball's not physically demanding. All sports are, but it doesn't rank up there with wrestling. Do you treat the kids differently, or how do you treat the kids differently with, a little softer touch, or what's that like?
Well, first of all, they are completely different. In my mind, we do not do a tremendous amount of conditioning, running, that kind of thing. Whereas with the wrestling, it's a daily thing where you're working on the conditioning side of things. We do have mandatory lifts with the girls, and that's going really well. Where we get in weight room sessions. Usually, if we are the late practice at the VMC because we're splitting time with the baseball team, we'll do a lift with the girls. But yeah, it's completely different. There's things I say in the wrestling room that I will not say when I'm coaching a softball game or practice. There's a lot of things that are handled differently, and straight up, even if you're coaching boys in baseball, it's just a different atmosphere. You play baseball, you play softball, but you don't play wrestling. So
Good wording.
It's definitely different. There are things that I enjoy about both, and there are things that I don't enjoy at times about both. But as far as transitioning to the girls, I would say that they communicate better. And these are blanket statements. There's always an exception, but they seem to communicate better than the boys do. I never have to wonder where one of them is, because if I am wondering, it's probably because I forgot, not because they didn't tell me. And they listen better as a whole. There's times with the boys that get pretty stubborn and hard-headed, and I'm sure I'm guilty of that as well at times. And I never worry about grades. And is that a boy-girl thing? Yeah, I think it is. I do.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm checking grades whenever mid-quarter is coming around or end of quarter is coming around. I am checking the grades with the guys in the winter. I seldom do that with the girls. And if we do have somebody that's maybe got something that's incomplete or straggling, they take care of it. I don't have to get on them about it. So those are some really positive things about it. But with that said, I feel like the girls are more in season with what they're doing. So they're all in when it's softball season. Yeah, if we can get them to play summer ball, great. But I don't feel like they train year-round like the boys do.
And they don't have to cut weight, the girls.
No, they don't unless they're in the wrestling room like we had a few of them.
Of course,
This past winter. But yeah, that's definitely a difference as well.
Let's touch on the girls wrestling just for a second. What a great first year, wasn't it? I mean, we didn't get any girls in St. Paul, of course, which kind of expected being the first year, but boy, we had some girls come close, didn't we?
Yeah, first of all, I think it went better than I could have hoped. Overall, we had good buy-in with the girls that stayed with it. I think we finished the year with 9 in the room, 8 or 9, with starting with maybe a dozen. Again, very coachable, did what they're supposed to do, communicated well. Just it was a very good first year for that. And obviously there was some learning curve for us as coaches as to how to navigate that with the girls in the practice room, with the girls' events. There was some challenges with that. There was some learning that went on our side as well. And as we always do at the end of the year, we're evaluating what went well and what we need to do better. And overall, I think it was positive for everyone that was involved.
Let's get right into this year's TMB softball team. We touched on it a little bit. You had a rough ending last year with a tough loss to a rival in Murray County Central. It was kind of a game where nothing went right. Right off the bat, they were scoring runs. Gretchen Lanou didn't really seem like herself. She was such a horse for you last year, and she got touched up. I don't think she finished the first inning, if I recall.
I think it was the opposite. I think we shut them down with Milena the week before. With Gretch pitching out of the gate in the regular season, and then I went with Milena in the playoff game.
Okay, I got it backwards.
Yeah, I think that's the way. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It didn't work.
Whatever you did not work.
Whatever we did didn't work, and obviously that decision was mine. But the wheels definitely fell off, and we couldn't find a way to hit against a pretty good pitcher for MCC, and we just weren't able to get it done, and that was extremely frustrating against, as you say, a team that we traditionally have a really good rivalry with. So, no, it did not end well. As we go into this season, one of the things that we're talking about, number one, is we got to get our pitching right, and number two. I just talked with our varsity infielders today about you're going to make mistakes. Things are not going to go well once in a while. Maybe your teammate makes a mistake, but we can't let that snowball into a whole bunch of mistakes.
And that happens a lot, doesn't it?
Seems like it, yeah.
And that's not a girl-boy thing. It just seems like the sport of baseball and softball, an error leads to another error. And all of a sudden they put up 2 runs, and there's a big hit, and it's a 4-run inning.
And then your pitcher walks or hits a batter, and it snowballs, and it's a mental thing. It's you've got to find a way to. I call it a Brett Favre mentality. Just throw an interception that was an ill-advised pass, and then he comes back and he'll hit somebody going down the sideline for a touchdown.
Forget about it.
And he forgot about it. So we need to be able to do that.
Of course, Brett Favre is an adult, and you're dealing with teenagers, so that's a little bit different dynamic there.
And they're not getting paid.
Yeah, right. Millions. So 9-12 last year. That's how we finished. Who are some names we lost from last year that are going to be big shoes to fill?
Well, we had 4 seniors graduate, and I knew you'd ask that question, so I was kind of trying to run through that mind here earlier.
And I should have them listed down.
Yeah.
Kendra Timmerman comes to mind.
Kendra and Caitlin Rupert.
Caitlin.
And Brianna Disher were the 3 that were on the field or had some role in last year's team. Caitlin played some right field for us. Dish played some center field for us. And Kendra actually played some left field for us at times. So when you think about that, a lot of our veteran outfielders graduated.
Yep.
But with that said, you always have or normally have some seniors moving on. That's just the nature of high school wrestling. It's not professional sport or high school wrestling, high school anything, high school sport.
Right.
It's not a professional sport. So with that said, we've got a lot of our team back from last year. We got pretty much everybody back that played infield for us. We have our starting catcher back in Piper Freeberg. We've got both Milena and Gretsch back that did a lot of our varsity pitching for us last year. Bella Martinez got some varsity time late in the year last year, and she has been doing a lot of pitching for us early as well, working on that, so giving us another option as well. Milena Ankrum played a lot of first base as well for us, along with Gretsch, so they kind of alternated over there. They're both back, obviously. Allie Dolan played a lot of second base for us late in the season, along with Avery Torgeson. So they're both back. I'm just kind of going around the field.
Rosa
Yeah,
Bang is
Rosa.
back.
I get to Rosa.
Your spark
Bray
plug.
Lynn, yeah, Bray Lynn is back at available to play shortstop, and Aaliyah at third base. And yeah, a little spark plug. Rosa will be one of our outfielders this year, along with possibly Cheyenne Hoffman. Avery may be playing some outfield. Bella may be playing some outfield. So we've got a lot of experience coming back that seen the field a lot last year, and it's just a matter of turning that experience into some successful softball.
Tom Kelly always said it's pitching and defense wins you games, and that's baseball. That's got to transfer to softball too, isn't it? It's about pitching number one, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we did struggle with that at times last year, where we were just having a hard time putting out strikes from the circle. So we've again, the girls have been working hard at it. It looks good inside. Today they got their first chance to throw outside, and it looked pretty decent outside as well. But how does that translate to the competition moments when it matters? We'll see. I can't tell you how that's going to look until we actually get into those moments. But yes, it starts with the pitching. That's pretty much been my focus as a coach for the last 2.5 weeks.
Right.
That's pretty much who I work with. And then, you can always play fundamental defense. There's days you're going to have a pitcher that's a shutdown pitcher. There's days you're going to have you're just not hitting the ball, or maybe you're hitting it on the screws and it's right at somebody.
Yeah.
Anybody that's been around the game knows that, but you can play defense every single day.
Right. Some teams that you'll be looking at competition-wise, as we're looking far ahead now into section tournaments, but you got the RTRs, you got the MCCs. They're pretty much always going to be, you can assume they're going to be right there at the end along with you guys.
Yeah, well, our half, our section is divided into halves, and there's a major discrepancy in the quality of softball in our south half versus the north half. And it's something that's actually being explored by our section advisory committee about maybe going to seeding 1 through 16, which I'm in favor of because of the fact that we have a really strong south subsection. So you mentioned RTR and MCC, but Wabassa was the section champ last year, and they get just about everybody back, if I'm not mistaken. They're a well-coached team. You've got Edgerton, who's a perennial good softball program. They're in our half. And then you also got a very strong bowl team who's in our half. So when you look at that, they're not all in our conference. Some of them are, but most of them are not. When just thinking out loud, the other half, we see a lot of those teams in the conference. And the other half, we've been pretty successful against most of them. But they seed it so that you have to at least win the first game on your half or you're done. And that's what we ran into the last 2 years.
It almost makes sense, judging by the last couple of years, to do it that way, break it down into 16 teams. It's kind of like the NHL playoffs right now. I don't know if you follow the Wild, but they're in a division with two of the best teams. And it's going to be like 4 against 1, 2 against 3. The really good teams, two of them are going to get knocked out right away.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill to swallow.
The thing is, it just depends on what lens you're looking at it through. So if you're one of those North teams, you're making the argument that we don't want to travel further than we have to. and we're okay with the system we got because we got a chance to be playing on the Saturday, beating a team that's got a losing record,
Right.
and we're playing against really good teams right out of the gate. So not everyone agrees with that philosophy. I can tell you a lot of us on the south half agree with it, but I think it's going to be met with resistance on the north half, and that's like anything. It's everybody's got their own opinion on it,
Yeah.
and I don't know what direction it'll end up going.
Well, the argument from one side is always, well, you got to beat the best anyway, right? No matter when you play them, if it's the first game. And that doesn't really hold a lot of water in softball because when a small team only has a couple pitchers that you rely on, and in baseball especially, you're going to wear those kids out right away. And then what do you got left in the tank when if you advance?
Well, the other thing is there's something to be said with having success and moving on in the playoffs. And we've had some really good games in the opening days of the playoffs against good teams, and then come up short. The year before it was against Wabasso, and we had the lead on Wabasso going into, I think, the fifth inning over an RTR, and they were
Right.
seated ahead of us, and we got beat by a couple. It was one defensive mistake late in the game, and they got up on us by a run or two, and they ended up beating us that day. We were done, and they ended up the section runner-up.
Yeah.
So it's just something to be said from getting a chance to move on to that double E limb, and it's frustrating when that doesn't happen.
So we've talked about the players on the team for this spring. Let's talk about where they're going to be playing a little bit, Carl. This is a pretty big deal that that you and the softball team and the city have kind of partnered on, similar to what the school and the city have a great partnership with the VMC, and we've all seen the improvements there. But the softball complex, I believe, was built in the 70s, and it was back then it was geared toward beer league softball, quote unquote, and the boxcar days tournament, which is unfortunately a shell of itself because summer softball for adults just isn't what it used to be. The numbers are down. The boxcar days tournament has like 8 teams if they're lucky now. We credit the Axford boys for putting it together, but they're fighting an uphill battle. But those softball fields were built for that. They weren't built for high school softball. We didn't have it at the time, of course. Now we have a new look complex, at least on the north field, and so much work has been put into that. Let's start with the fundraising that it took to get this going. When did that really kick into gear for you, and you got the girls out soliciting, so to speak?
Well, I can't tell you the exact timeline on when we started the system we did. I want to say it was probably 4 to 5 years ago we started doing a fundraiser this time of the year. It initially started as a bowling event that we went out with the girls and solicited sponsorships for that bowling to sponsor an alley, kind of like you
Yeah.
sponsor a hole at a golf tournament. And we started that 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. Maybe it's even 6. And we realized we could make some pretty substantial gains in just going out and getting sponsors that we can use those funds for summer ball, equipment, and field improvements. That's kind of where it started. And then over the past 2 to 3 years, that kind of evolved into not growing that, but also going out to some of the local organizations like the Eagles Club and Ballatin Legion, Currytown and Country. Roy O has helped out. Some of those Boxcar Win. And again, I know I'll get out of here and I'll
Well, you got a
give
list,
somebody
a long
else,
list on that dugout.
So
You can't name them all.
yeah, so we sent the girls out to solicit funds for it, and with the target for the field improvements because it takes a tremendous amount of money to do what we're doing out there.
Yeah.
And at last count, I think we were over $100,000 that we put into that complex between the crow's nest, the second level crow's nest, or the concession stand, the new batting cage, the deck, viewing deck off the crow's nest, and then that evolved into what we did this past summer, which was dugouts, in-ground dugouts on the north field, resetting all the bases, new backstops, new fencing all the way around, bullpens, a lot of agrolime, and the city dug in some tile in the right outside the infield dirt for us. So the city worked on that part of it for us. The school, our school district has put in some funds out there, some substantial funds. Our booster club, our Panther Booster Club, is one that I didn't mention here, and they've thrown some good money at it. So we've been able to get it ready to go. We have not been on it with the girls yet this spring. I did have the construction class out there today, doing some tweaking on the bullpens and cleaning out the dugouts from winter trash and fixing a couple things in the old dugouts in the south field. And the black dirt around it is seeded. City and the school district, along with Jim Christian, took care of that for us last fall. So it's dormant seeded. So hopefully with some warm weather, we can see some green grass coming up, and we're getting close.
The over 100,000, we're talking fundraising, we're talking school pitching in, that's all told, right? That's
Yes.
not just the fundraising dollars.
Yep.
Okay.
But a substantial amount of it is the fundraising.
The majority.
Yep. And we're actually getting geared up as a program to start that process over again real soon. And, there's more to do. A new scoreboard out there on that field would be fantastic. And, it's kind of like owning a house.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's pride and ownership, and it's never done.
It's never done. And I know that there was a parent group last summer that was frustrated with some of our other fields, wanting to see some improvements on some of our other fields, like the ones at the swimming pool and the ones the junior high baseball field. And some of those wheels are in motion for some of that as well. But it all takes money, it all takes time, it all takes labor. And I do feel good about the direction we have went with everything overall.
And I believe we're getting new lights out there too, if I remember a school board meeting right.
It's got to get rubber stamped by the school board
Right.
yet. So it's a real high probability, but our school board still needs to approve those funds. But and ironically, the high winds that we had here a couple weeks ago blew down a couple of the lights.
I saw that
field.
when I was out there.
And I actually took a couple pictures here earlier this week and sent it over to our soup and our AD, just so said, hey, the timing's right.
And that's the safety thing too, because that's what they talked about at the school board meeting about the football field. You got these old poles, really tall, and they're swaying. And I know Dr. Anderson does not like to see that. And it's different, of course, at the softball field, but then again, it's really not, because you have these tall lights and they're old, and then it becomes a safety issue. And I know the school's always number one concern is safety for the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be super cool as well. If we can get that done this summer, that's going to be just one more thing that adds to this project.
Mm-hmm. And the tiling is important. When I was out there on Wednesday, and you know this as well as anyone, that south field doesn't drain very well. And there's always puddles, especially on third base, as there is this week. That's kind of a positive thing as far as the other field, the north field. It seemed to have, does it dry up faster, or is that just me? I don't know. It always seems like that field is a little more stable when it comes to drainage than the south field.
The short answer is yes. The north field normally dries a little bit faster. The slope has been a little bit better, but as we brought the AgriLime in and set the bases, I worked really hard on the elevations to get that slope right, to help with those heavy rains that we'll get once in a while, to help dry that thing out quicker. So, for example, today when we were out working on it, we probably could have drug it and played on it today, whereas that south field isn't even close because of the puddle by third base, shortstop area that you alluded to. So the south field is actually something that's on something we're talking about as potentially being one of the next steps. But again, it's one thing at a time.
And there's an aspect to the new the new look field that maybe not everyone will notice. People like you, people like Piper will notice. It's regulation backstop, right? And
Correct.
it's never been like that. I know, former coach Skoglund and I talked a number of times. Boy, it'd be really nice to get, that old field, the old setup. There's a wood board, a small wood plank to with the softball to hit off, but it was right there behind the catcher or the umpire. That's a big thing too, isn't it? Just getting it up to regulation. I'm surprised the high school league lets you play on these fields.
I kind of am as well. Now, with that said, it's funny you mentioned the board because one of the board on the backstop, because one of the things that we're waiting on right now is we've got backstop padding coming
Okay.
as well. So we've got a 2 foot high backstop padding that's going to
Nice.
have Panther softball on it and Panther logo on it. And I just got confirmation that that's supposed to ship by the middle of next week. So we should have that. If we don't have it, by the end of next week, it should be pretty close, and it won't take us all that long to get that installed as well.
And that board, it's slanted, so a pass ball hits it, and it doesn't. There's no true bounce. There never really has been,
No,
and that's got to be frustrating for coaches and catchers alike, and pitchers.
we definitely coach different on our home field than we do when we
Right.
get on a regulation field.
Yeah. So, a general question: Why do this? This commitment, like you said, 5 years in the making. So much work from so many different people and organizations, and so much support from the community. In hindsight, that's all great. But when you started this, what was the impetus for you, Karl? Just saying, you know what, we got to do something here.
Well, I think last fall when we talked, we might have touched on this just a little bit. I've coached quite a bit of baseball too, and been fortunate enough to coach baseball in fields like Legion Field and Marshall, Laverne's Field. Milroy's got a really nice field, obviously. Irish Yards,
Yeah.
nice. But even just going east when you play in Springfield or you play at Stark, some of these little ballparks out in the middle of nowhere, it's just a really cool atmosphere that our boys get to play baseball on. And I just felt that it was time to try to do something for these girls to give them some of this, something similar, obviously in a softball mode, because we play on some nice fields for softball and we play on some pretty bad ones too. So we've talked about Lakeview's up in Cottonwood. Lakeview's got a nice field, and
Yeah, they do.
Pipestone's got a very
Murray
nice
County
stadium.
Central.
MCC
It's
is
very
done.
nice.
I honestly went down and looked at their field multiple times in trying to figure out what to do for ours, and reached out to both their athletic director and to Alyssa, their head coach here in the past, to figure out what should we do, how should we do it, and what's important, and modeled some of it after that. So the driving force to me was, let's try and get our facilities to be something we're proud of and that the girls want to be part of, not just make do.
Yeah. Not just it's here, it's the best we can do. This is what we're going to go with, as had been in the past. I know my daughter Olivia is jealous. I talked to her today about it, and that I'm doing a story for next week's paper, and I was bragging up all the cool things about how this field is going to look, and she's like, "Darn it, just a little late."
Yeah, all you did is get her mad at me.
Well, it's not your fault. I know. I hope the school and the softball community in Tracy really appreciates what you and the girls have done, and the community support that you mentioned. Wow, what a response the community gave you. I know we donated to it above the fold, and when you fundraise, it's not easy to do when you're a teenager, but that really says a lot about these girls.
Yeah, it's life skills. It's having those girls go out and reach out to businesses and family members and whoever else, nonprofits, some of these organizations
Yeah.
that helped us out, and it's life skills for the girls that will help them moving forward beyond softball. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And honestly, not all of them do as much as the others do. We might have one girl just go out and get one or two, and then the next one will go out and get 10.
Yeah,
It's just the way it is. But
team effort.
it's a team effort. And you gotta be appreciative of the fact that the city of Tracy is allowing us to do this as well, because they actually own the property. It's
Yep,
not
city
school
owned.
property, and they've been very cooperative with what we wanted to do. And yep, very supportive with. We're improving one of their parks is what we're doing.
I was going to say they're the beneficiaries too, because whether it's a boxcar day softball tournament or sports, or just the perception that people have coming in to watch their kids play, like wow, this is nice compared to maybe maybe the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. And that was something that this group of parents last year of Little League baseball in town was a little bit frustrated with. Is they were going to all these fields that they felt were way nicer than, for example, what we had at the swimming pool. And it's like, well, understand we are working on fields right now, and we're going to continue to work on fields. We're going to continue to try and improve, because we understand that that's important. When people come to town, it is something that they remember and talk about.
Yeah.
So
But as we all know, it doesn't happen overnight. Thank you so much, Carl, for joining us today. I appreciate it.
thank you.
This week's podcast was brought to you by Greenwood Nursery. Easter is right around the corner, and Greenwood Nursery has all your Easter favorites. Whether you're looking for Easter lilies, kalanchoe, begonia, mums, or rainbow mums, Greenwood Nursery has them all for only $20 each. Pick up your favorite at our Tracy or Marshall location, and remember Greenwood Nursery for all your spring planting and gardening needs.